Hello and welcome to Honest Car Reviews. My name is Eric and this is the Lexus RX450h Luxury. It is the top of the line SUV from Lexus as of now. It is the luxury edition, so even that is the top of the line of the RX450h model, and as I will continue with this review, I'll just call it RX because the full name is quite of a mouthful. But anyways, Lexus, it is the luxury department of Toyota. So Toyota and Lexus are in essence the same brand. So if you want something more sophisticated, maybe something a bit more luxurious, refined, you choose a Lexus. When I discuss about Lexus and the design language, quite a lot of people do not like this front. It is a bit too extreme, and I'll let you, the viewer, decide for yourself. But I quite like these really thin front lines. Maybe they would have gone together better with something else in the front. With the luxury edition, you have some unique rims. I will open up the rear tailgate to let you see. It is electrically operated. And some camera equipment as always. A really glossy plastic carpet, which as you can see will be, after some wear and tear, it will be quite damp and quite non-glossy. But underneath I have an extra compartment which is quite handy, and see, here you have the batteries. No huge ridge or step, so quite easy to get in and out of, and you have the possibility to flip down the rear seats. Simple and quite spacious, I have to say. Not class leading, but not small by any means. Fake diffuser, and I don't know if you can see, but there is the exhaust. It is hidden underneath. So the car, as I said, is the top of the line. So it is the biggest as well. It is almost 5 meters, about 4.89 meters if I'm not mistaken. And that has had a huge effect on the interior space. The front seats are way back as they can be, but I can still fit. However, when I sit completely straight, it is sometimes that my head is almost touching. So if there will be some shaking going on in the car, when there are some bumps or something, my head might very well hit the side of the roof, which is here. Because you have quite a ridge here. The seats are comfortable, and with the luxury package you have this real leather, both front and rear, and it is that leather smell, which is quite unique nowadays, because now it's about being ahead of the time and being more respectful towards the nature. And in some ways I have to clap for Lexus because they're doing this. It is the old way of doing luxury, but I also have to give them some discredit for using this material. It is also a quite unique design language in all aspects. It is quite... You don't see anything else comparably from other car manufacturers on the road, but here in Sweden and Stockholm at least, nobody bats an eye. Even though you're driving a car that costs almost, or this car costs around 11,000 euros, nobody bats an eye. Because this car is also a hybrid, which puts out with a combined output around 330 horsepower. The petrol engine, which is a V6, 3.5 liter actually, and it puts out around 270. Worth mentioning, this is quite a heavy car. It weighs about 2.1 tons. So the 0 to 100 kilometers an hour is 7.7 seconds. Ultimate performance and numbers is not what this car is about. It is about driving the car and sitting and relaxing in the car and being transported. And now I'll start to open up the door handle and get in. And the first thing I thought about when I sat in the car is I'm controlling a ship or something, because sitting here with this really long dash console or whatever you want to call it here, it feels really big. It is quite a unique sensation. The key, compact and nice and simple. I mean, well done Lexus. You have two cup holders here, simple. As I mentioned before, you have the luxury seats, and there you notice that when I put on my seat belt, the steering wheel moves towards me and the seat moved forward, and that is because I have selected a seating position which I can choose here, and the passenger can also do it on the right here. The seats are also unique for the luxury model, because it is 10-way adjustable, so you can have it in your complete desired position. Also with the luxury edition you have the Mark Levinson sound system, and this is the best sound system that I have heard in a car by a long time, and that comes only with the luxury edition. Maybe with the sport I will just put it up if that is the case, but also with the luxury you have a 12-point-something inch screen compared to the 8 or 9-inch standard display, and you have the Lexus logo or the opening sequence of everything. I mentioned the panoramic sunroof cost around 1,000 euros, and it can even open up. Okay, so it's a system that you have to hold in for a couple seconds apparently, and it opens up. No netting here, but there is some flap going over to direct the air over, so you don't have so much disturbance in the coupe or the cabin. Simple to use, nothing to complain about, but something to complain about. The car costs almost 80,000 euros, and with this panoramic sunroof it does. And here I can flex the whole center console a lot. It feels rather flimsy, and you have some real sounds everywhere, especially in the center console that doesn't sound really quality. My feel when I sit in the car and drive the car is that Lexus has taken an old school approach towards luxury regarding materials and how they design the car. In the inside, the outside might look a bit more on the futuristic side, but underneath you have the hybrid system and everything like that. So it's like it's two worlds. You have the advanced hybrid system, but you had the laid back interior and approach to luxury. I'll start driving and I talk about more that I've found, which is both good and bad. And yeah, old school gear shifter, which you have to clonk it, and you have the big and rather thick steering wheel, which I quite like. It floats over unevenness, bumps. It floats over the road in general, so it's quite soft in that aspect. And even though you have the sport mode, which you can select, it doesn't change the road characteristics at all, but the calmness and the softness of the suspension is thanks to the active suspension. which has been newly developed. Further on, I can talk a bit about the fuel consumption, because as I drove towards this filming location, it's just highway, only highway driving, and I never managed to go underneath 0.7 liters per 10 kilometer. Is that bad or good? I mean, you have to look it for what the car is. It is 2.1 tons, 330 horsepower of combined output, and in general sense a luxury vehicle. So even though the hybrid system is there to reduce fuel and to make the car as smooth as possible in its power delivery, I think it's still not about ultimate economic performance, because then you wouldn't have a V6 engine, which sounds quite good. It is 3.5 liters, a quite detuned engine, so it doesn't rev that much, and especially coupled with this CVT gearbox, and I can let you hear it now. Yeah, the digital and analog gauge cluster is quite cool, because depending on which driving mode you're in, it changes. Quite unique and quite neat. An interesting mixture between analog and digital gauge cluster. The middle display here though looks quite old, and it's not that well integrated into the general design, but it feels like driving a spaceship. It feels quite disconnected from the general driving experience, just because of the latency in the steering, because it's a heavy car and it's a soft suspension, and when you turn into corners, okay, when I turn into corners, you have that real latency. You have a head-up display, so you have information about how you're driving. So now it's more eco, and when I push down the throttle, it goes to power. I think it warns me when I go over the speed limit, which I haven't seen before, but I'll show you now. I have both lines active on the head-up display, which means that it really tries to keep you within the lines, even though I am trying to do the same thing. So sometimes it can feel like you're wrestling a bit with the steering wheel. So the general sense of how the car is to drive, how it is as a passenger, how it is as a rear passenger, and space and everything, just how it is to live with. I mean, for 80,000 euros, it is big, it's comfortable, it has plenty of power, and it has quite an okay carbon emission, so you don't have to pay as much for taxes. I mean, it's quite a good package, even though the exterior is rather unique and might not fell everyone in the taste, and the interior is quite old school in their design, especially with the analog watch and a CD. They have a CD recorder here. I mean, come on. Quite fun. And also the buttons on the interior, especially those for the seat controls and the parking brake. I mean, that is not a good way to place your buttons, because the stick is in the way. But as a package, I mean, these are just little things, and they won't make you hate it. At least it doesn't make me hate it. I quite like this car, and it is a good alternative towards the German and British luxury brands, especially in the price point. So the Lexus RX450h is a rather unique car, but it's also a rather good car. My name is Eric, and this is my honest car review of the Lexus RX450h.